What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Winter Wolf's Den. Winter Wolf here today, freezing his wolf nuts off. It is a sleety 30 some odd degrees, freezing cold outside in the den. I'm gonna crank the heat today, maybe toast this joint up a little bit. So bringing you a little bit of good news today, I think. Always, taking this kind of news and tidbit with a grain of salt. Being reported on by John Trent at Bounding into Comics, himself citing Overlord DVD and his constant inflow of leaked secrets and things like that coming out of Hollywood, with particular focus on Lucasfilms. And this time they're talking about Indiana Jones 5 or Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And as you guys can see there in the headline, latest Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny rumor claims that Phoebe Waller-Bridge's role is being significantly reduced. And I will link the article to Bounding in the description below for you guys to read, because I'm going to try and keep this one quick. We've got a couple of other things we want to work on today. But I think that this is probably a little bit of good news. The crux of the article seems to suggest that with Bob Iger's return as the commander-in-chief over there at Disney, apparently not too pleased with his personal viewing of Indy 5, and basically called Kathleen Kennedy to task and said, fix this or I'm not paying for it, you pay for it. And apparently didn't want to let it be shown. Later on down the article, it mentions that they had multiple test screening endings for this film, 5 or 6 of them, I think. And the best one they had only met with like a 35% audience, the positive review. And we had heard before over the last couple of months, if you follow the right people on Twitter, James Mangold made some statements. The great crew of people over there at Salty Nerd Podcast, much better than James Mangold, he sucks. But basically people that have been around and following the project have been talking about various little cracks in the foundation of this film as it's been going with reshoots and rewrites. This seems to be the most straightforward mention that things are being really shaken up over there on this particular project. And a lot of it kind of did center directly around Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character and also her work behind the camera, doing helping with the rewrites and kind of the redirections and the navigating the ship kind of thing. So it seems like if the rumors are true, somebody in power over there at Lucasfilms or Disney is trying to undo some of the mistakes that they've made in the last some odd years, particularly within Star Wars. If you followed the channel for a hot minute, I definitely am not a sequel trilogy fan. And for a long time, it looked like Harrison Ford was going to get the bad dad treatment twice from these guys. He had his Han Solo character unceremoniously demolished in The Force Awakens and then bastardized and brought back in a scene that made little to no sense in The Rise of Palpatine, Episode 9. And a lot of people, myself included, were nervous that Indy was going to get the same treatment. Plenty of folks didn't like Kingdom of Crystal Skull. You can count me in that group as well. I think a lot of us still, though, had a lot of hope that this particular movie would wrap up the Indy character and either see the torch passed to another similar character or had the role recast. But Ford, I believe, is on record famously saying the character's going to die with me. So who knows what's going to happen with that. And who knows, we might never see a new Indy on account of with digital deep fakes being what they can be these days. We might just be seeing Harrison Ford's crusty old ass be Indy for the next 70 years. But for me personally, the cause of concern there is I really didn't want to see this character, of all characters, really deconstructed in a way that a lot of our male heroes have been kind of just dunked on by modern media. And Indy was just about due for the treatment from some of these clowns in Hollywood. He's hyper masculine, he's macho, he throws hands, he's got a gun, he puts himself in danger. He's got that way with women in the 3 films that he's in that the thinking is considered outdated by a lot of people. Just in terms of our entertainment, he should never be talk out the side of your neck to a woman. It's kind of stupid. It's crusty. Don't do it, guys. But in entertainment for a period piece like this, where it's set in the 60s and whatnot, it's kind of in character for that kind of archetype to behave a certain way. Like he's not supposed to be a 9th wave feminist folk hero in an Indiana Jones movie. And I really thought this character was going to get that kind of treatment under the current stewardship over there at Lucasfilms. But those issues aside, I think one of the other things that kind of concerns me, even after initially being excited by this news, is I really don't want to see this movie get the Rise of Skywalker treatment either. And what I mean by that is this. Rise of Skywalker was such an incoherent mess because it needed reshoots and it needed to be rewritten, and they were basically working on it till the day it dropped in theaters that December, that you basically got an incoherent piece of dribble. And I really don't want that to be Indy's case or Indy's treatment. Like if they had a script, they ought to just run through it. run with it. They need to just get from point A to point B, hit all the beats, get Indy out of Dodge, and call it. The concern here is that if they're going through and doing significant rewrites to minimize Phoebe Waller-Bridge's role to not be the heir apparent to the hat, the whip, and the revolver, that they may end up inadvertently jacking the screenplay in a way that makes the final product make absolutely no sense. And then I'm going to have to tear it to shreds anyway, because it's one more IP that I like that you jackasses got your hands on and destroyed. So I just advise them, just from a fan perspective, please, guys, if we're going back this late in the game to change up a movie that by all accounts you said was almost done, please just be careful with the basic foundation to the film. Go really hyper focused on the main story beats, the absolute necessity, the absolutely necessary threads, I should say, that need to be there to make this movie kind of a cohesive piece of fiction that kind of makes sense from start to finish. At the end of the movie, as long as Harrison Ford's legacy, Indy's legacy, hasn't been crapped on by anybody, I honestly don't give a shit if Phoebe Waller-Bridge is the heir apparent, because it doesn't mean we have to have Indy movies with her as an Indiana Jones stand-in, but it also doesn't mean that there's no room to have that kind of character in an Indiana Jones world. They could just as easily recast this role 5 years after Ford's death, whenever that may be, and hopefully he lives a good long time. And nobody would think any of the less of them recasting the role. I think the Wakanda Forever situation kind of demonstrated people would have preferred that when our fans sadly pass away, when our stars, sadly pass away. But I think that's going to be it for me, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you want to just see what this train wreck would have been without these kind of changes? Or does this sound like good news to you guys that we might be getting a more straight up Indiana Jones movie where, if you read the article, it's mentioning that a subplot within the movie involves Indy needing to rescue Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character at some stretch. Anybody interested in the fact that this might be using the Nazi bell occult piece of artifacture that appears in certain sci-fi literature all over the place? It's been in a couple of games too. It's like a time travel-y thing. If you guys have seen the trailer, you know what I'm talking about. But that's going to be it for me, guys. Like I said, comment below, drop me the like, hit me with the sub. I appreciate everybody checking in, and I will see you in the next one.